Welcome to Molly's Playground, a pole dancer's perspective on mindset, identity, and taking up space. This is a podcast for the people who are done shrinking themselves. Here we break free from expectations, perfectionism, fear, and all of the things that keeps us small. True movement, honest conversations, rebellious reflections, and the world of pole dance. We explore what it really means to stand strong in yourself, trust your own voice, and take up space unapologetically. So fuck the norm, fuck who you're supposed to be, and fuck the idea that you need permission to exist fully. I'm your host, certified life coach, international pole dance educator, and professional oversharer, Molly Pretzel. Let's fucking go. Hi love. So I've been dancing bachata for about 1.5 years now. And lately, I have had this feeling that something is missing in my dancing. And I don't mean that in a dramatic, oh my God, I'm terrible, need to become a completely different dancer kind of way. I really do enjoy it. But I can feel that there's something I want from my dancing that I don't have yet. There's a kind of freedom I can see in other dancers, and sometimes almost feel in my own body that I don't quite know how to access yet. And my immediate thought was pretty obvious. Okay, I probably just need more. More classes, more combinations, more congresses, more hours of dancing. Because that's normally how we think about getting better at something, right? Do more of it. Except the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I wasn't actually sure what I was trying to become better at. Do I want more combinations? Not really. Do I desperately want to compete? Not at all. Do I want someone to teach me how to dance exactly like them? Definitely not. What I actually want is more freedom. I want to understand my body and the framework of bachata well enough that I have more choices inside of it. And suddenly I need more bachata classes wasn't necessarily the answer anymore, because I had a completely different question. What would actually help me create the freedom that I wanted? And I've been thinking so much about this because I don't think we only do this with hobbies. I think we do it with our entire lives. Something feels wrong. Uncomfortable, frustrating, boring, stressful, I feel stuck, whatever it is. And we immediately start looking for a solution. How do I make this go away? What course could I take? What should I buy? What habit should I start? Who should I talk to? What do I need to do differently? And maybe sometimes we get lucky and the first solution works. But I think a lot of the time we are trying to solve something we haven't actually taken the time to understand yet. We are solution hunting before we diagnose the problem. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because I think one of the biggest mistakes we make when something in our life doesn't feel the way we want it to is that we immediately ask, how do I fix this? But maybe the question before that needs to be, what is actually happening here? Because a good solution to the wrong problem is still a wrong solution. You feel stressed, so you think you need to relax more. You feel stuck at work, so you think you need another job. You feel insecure about something you're learning, so you assume you need more practice. You feel overwhelmed, so you download another fucking productivity app that somehow is going to organize your entire existence. And none of those solutions are necessarily bad. The problem is that we often take the feeling we want to get rid of and assume that is the problem. Imagine you're exhausted every Sunday because you're already dreading Monday. You might think, I need to become better at relaxing on the weekends. So you stop checking your emails, you book a massage, you meditate, you try to create the perfect Sunday routine. And listen, get the fucking massage. I love a massage. But what if the reason you can't relax has nothing to do with your ability to relax? What if you hate your job? What if your boss makes you feel like shit? What if your workload is completely unsustainable? Then relaxation isn't solving the problem. It's helping you recover just enough to get back into it on Monday. And I think this happens everywhere. Maybe you keep buying clothes because you feel like you have nothing to wear, but the actual problem is that you don't know what you like to wear anymore. Maybe you keep buying planners because you feel behind, but you're not disorganized, you simply put too much on your plate. No calendar system can create a 29-hour day. Maybe you're lonely, so you keep making more plans with the same people, but perhaps you don't need more socializing. Maybe you want more connection. Maybe you want conversations you're not having yet. Maybe you want people around you who are interested in completely different things, different problem, different solution. And I think this is one of the reasons we can spend years working on ourselves while still feeling like we keep ending up in the same place. We are doing things, we are trying, we are spending money, we are learning, but sometimes we're just searching harder in the exact same place we've already searched 1,000 times. Part of the reason we do this is because we want relief. When something feels uncomfortable, we want the discomfort to stop, which is completely human. If we're stressed, we want relief. If we're confused, we want an answer. If I'm insecure, I want reassurance. If I don't know what I'm doing, I want someone to please just tell me what the fuck I'm supposed to do. But relief and resolutions aren't always the same thing. And this is where I think we need to become better at understanding discomfort, because discomfort is a huge category. Nervousness is discomfort and it's uncomfortable. Embarrassment is uncomfortable. Frustration is uncomfortable. Anger is uncomfortable. Feeling unsafe is uncomfortable. Being a beginner is uncomfortable. Having someone cross one of your boundaries is uncomfortable. But those experiences don't mean the same thing. I had a really good example of this recently. I've started teaching some new dance classes, and after one of the classes, I came home feeling an enormous amount of discomfort. An older version of me could easily have gone, maybe I shouldn't be teaching this. Maybe I'm not good at this type of teaching. Maybe the idea doesn't work. And if I stopped teaching, I would probably get immediate relief. Except I didn't actually know what the problem was yet. So I started pulling the experience apart. Was it the students? No, I really, really liked them. Was it the place? Not at all. I loved the place. Did I not want to teach? No, I really want to teach. So what was it? And eventually I realized I hadn't taught the class I wanted to teach. Something about the structure didn't create the experience I had imagined in my head, and suddenly the discomfort became incredibly useful. Because it wasn't saying stop teaching, it was saying there's something here you want to do differently. Those are wildly different conclusions. But I have also experienced the opposite. I've been in a gym where I felt extremely uncomfortable. And again, I could investigate it. Do I hate training? No. Am I embarrassed because I'm a beginner? No. Eventually, I realized that a lot of the discomfort was connected to the manager of the gym. I found him to be intrusive. I didn't like being around him. I didn't like how I felt when he interacted with me. And my conclusion wasn't amazing. An opportunity for growth. Let me expose myself to this person 3 times a week until my nervous systems give up. No, love. My conclusion was, I don't want to be here. And I left, but I didn't stop to work out. And that's why I don't believe we should automatically push through discomfort. I also don't think we should automatically run from it. Discomfort is information, not an instruction. It doesn't automatically mean stop, and it doesn't automatically mean keep going. It means there's something here worth understanding. And this sounds simple when I say it like this, I know. Just get curious, pull the experience apart, figure out what you actually need, blah, 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 beautiful. Except that's not really how being human works, because the obvious solution is often much easier to deal with than the deeper question. If I'm stressed and the solution is a massage, I can book it for a Thursday, done. If I'm stressed and I discover that the actual problem might be my career. Well, shit. Now I have to think about money. Maybe update my CV, maybe get rejected, maybe admit that there's something I have spent years building that isn't working for me anymore. That's a completely different level of discomfort. And familiar explanation can give us the same relief. When I first started trying to understand myself after having a really stressful experience with work, one of the first things I did was to get certified in DISC personality profiling. And I don't have a problem with personality profiles. I need to say that. They can give us interesting information. But looking back, I think part of what I was asking was, please tell me who I am so I can understand why my life feels like this. And there was something comforting about getting a category. Oh, I'm this kind of person. This is how people like me to behave. This is what I'm good at. This is what I struggle with explanation found. Except an explanation isn't necessarily development. Sometimes an explanation can actually become the things that keep us where we are. I'm just a perfectionist. I'm just not social. I'm bad at relationship. I'm not creative. That is just how I am. We have taken a snapshot and turned it into a life sentence because the label closes the question. Curiosity opens it again. And opening the questions means accepting I might not know yet, which can be incredibly uncomfortable. I think this became really clear to me when I started moving away from personality profiling and becoming interested in life coaching. I deliberately started listening to ideas that challenged me. And there's one podcast episode I still remember incredibly clearly. I was driving in my car. I remember where I was. I remember pulling into a gas station, getting a coffee and cigarettes, and watching the sun go down while I replayed part of the episode again and again and again because I was so fucking provoked by what I was hearing. The conversation was about forgiveness. And at that point in my life, I had a very specific understanding of healing from the things I had experienced growing up. Someone hurt me. They had to acknowledge it. They had to apologize. And then I could forgive them. Then I get to move on. There was a sequence in my head. And suddenly I was hearing someone questioning the entire premise. So what she was questioning was, what actually happens if your piece requires another person to do something first? What if they never apologize? What if they don't understand what happened the way you understand it? What if allowing another person to be who they are doesn't mean approving of what they did? And I did not immediately think, what a beautiful perspective. Not at all. I was pissed. I smoked so many cigarettes. And that's what became interesting. Not because every person who provokes you is secretly right. People say bullshit all of the time. But instead of immediately deciding they're wrong, I started wondering, why is this touching something in me so strongly? And that became a really important lesson for me. I can entertain an idea without agreeing with it. I can ask questions about something I think is bullshit. I can listen to someone's perspective without making it mine. Curiosity and agreement are not the same thing. And that gives us so much more room to move. Because if every belief becomes something we have to defend, we eventually build our own present out of certainty. Whereas this is what I believe right now, and I'm willing to look at it again, gives us options. And options are really what we're trying to create here. Not certainty, options. Because here's another problem. You can only search for answers using the information you currently have. And sometimes the answer you're looking for simply isn't inside the information yet. I see this all of the time in dance. Someone tells me I want better flow. I want smoother transitions. I want better movement quality. And then they keep buying trick workshops after trick workshops. There's nothing wrong with trick workshops. But if you want to become better at body waves, maybe another pole trick workshop isn't what you need. Maybe take a heels class, take contemporary dance, go somewhere that teaches the quality you're looking for in a completely different context. And yes, this is terrible business advice for me, because technically I should tell you and tell everyone to just keep buying my workshops forever. But sometimes more of what you're already doing isn't what moves you forward. Sometimes you need new information. And I think about this whenever someone tells me I'm bored, something is missing, I don't know what I want. And then their life is work, home, phone, TV, bed, repeat. Maybe drinks on a Friday if things get really wild. And again, I don't mean this in a judgmental way, but where is the new information supposed to come from? We sit inside the life we already live and ask, what else do I want? But sometimes the answers are literally isn't in the room yet. You cannot always think your way into information you have never collected. Sometimes you have to experience your way into it. Try something, meet someone, go somewhere. Read something you normally wouldn't read. Take the weird class. Learn something completely unrelated. Not because every new experience contains the answer, most of them won't, but you're creating information that wasn't available to you before. And something I do believe is that one of the reasons we're afraid to do this is because we are making every experiment incredibly permanent. What if I try boxing and I'm not a boxing person? Who cares? You went boxing on a Wednesday, that's it. What if you explore another career and realize you actually prefer the one you already have? Amazing, love. Now you know something about your current career from a perspective you didn't have before. What if you question a belief and you end up believing the exact same thing again? Great. Maybe now you understand why you believe it. Opening a door doesn't mean signing a lease on whatever is behind it. You can look, you can try, you can change your mind. And I think that's one of the biggest mindset shifts I've made in my own life. I don't need to become better at predicting which choices will be right. I need to trust myself more with what happens after I make them. I can leave, I can adjust, I can say no, I can try again, I can change my mind, I can discover that I was wrong, I can discover that I was right. And when I trust myself to do those things, I don't need nearly as much certainty before I'm willing to move. So let's make this really practical. I want you to think about one area of your life where you currently have the feeling of something here isn't quite what I want it to be. Don't choose the biggest trauma of your life. We are practicing. Choose something where you actually have enough emotional space to be curious. And first, describe the problem without solving it. I need a new job isn't the problem. That's already a solution. What's happening is every Sunday I feel exhausted and anxious when I think about going to work. Okay, now we have something to investigate. I need to become more disciplined with exercise. Again, this is a solution. What's actually happening? I keep planning to go to the gym, and every time the day comes, I don't want to go. Great. Now pull it apart. When does the discomfort start? Is there a particular person involved? Is it the environment? Is it what you're doing? Is it what you think you should be able to do? Are you nervous, bored, embarrassed, exhausted? Did someone cross a boundary? What were you hoping this part of your life would give you that you currently is not getting? And then ask, what do I actually want more of here? Not what feeling do I want to get rid of? What do I want more of? Maybe you don't actually want a new job. Maybe you want autonomy. Maybe you want respect. Maybe you want fewer responsibilities. Maybe you want more creativity. Maybe you want to work with people less, because honestly, people are exhausting. And then, where have I already been looking? What have I tried? Who do I normally ask? What solutions do I automatically reach for? What am I doing more of every time this problem comes back? And finally, where haven't I looked? This is where things get a little weird. And then choose one tiny experiment. Not a new identity, not a 5-year plan. One experiment. Take one class, have one conversation, go to one event, spend one afternoon somewhere different. And afterwards, don't ask, was this the answer? Ask, what did I learn? Because maybe you learned what you don't want. That's useful. Maybe you discovered something else you're curious about. Follow it. Maybe nothing happened. Fine. Try another door. The purpose isn't to magically discover the perfect solution. The purpose is to stop demanding that you know the destination before you're willing to move. And there are two things I really want you to watch out for when you start doing this. The first thing is turning discomfort into something inherently good. Again, discomfort is information, not an instruction. You do not get bonus point for tolerating shit. Sometimes your investigations end up with, no, I generally don't want this. Beautiful, leave. The second is turning curiosity into avoidance. Because you can also spend forever researching, trying, reading, asking everyone, collecting information, and never actually choose anything. At some point, curiosity has done its job. And then you have to make a decision with incomplete information. Because unfortunately, the universe never gives you a certificate saying, congratulations, you now have enough data to make the objectively correct decision. Sometimes you choose. And then you see what happens, and this is where thought work becomes useful to me at least. Not because I want to eliminate my automatic thoughts, but because I want to notice the story I'm attaching to the experience. If I walk into a class where everyone seems better than me, my brain might immediately say, I don't belong here. They're going to think I'm terrible. I should be better than this. And now I'm not only experiencing the discomfort of being a beginner, I'm also experiencing everything I'm making being a beginner mean about me. That distinction matters because once I can see the story, I can get another choice. Maybe I still leave, maybe I stay, but now I'm making that decision with more information. And that's really the goal. Not to become so self-aware that you never make a bad decision again, but to create that tiny space between, I want this feeling gone, and wait, what's actually happening here? So if we pull the whole conversation together, I think it's this. When something in your life doesn't feel right, don't rush to solve it. Because a good solution to the wrong problem is still the wrong solution. First, understand what is actually happening. Get specific. Pull the experience apart. Remember that discomfort is information, not an instruction. And if you still don't know what you need, that's good. You don't have to. Maybe you simply don't have the information yet. So stop searching the same room harder. Open another door. Try something, collect information. Let yourself be a beginner. Let yourself change your mind. And stop making every experiment responsible for changing your entire life. Because I don't think the opposite of being stuck is knowing exactly where you're going. I think the opposite of being stuck is being willing to discover somewhere new to go. You don't need certainty before you move. You need enough trust in yourself to know that whatever you discover, you can decide what you want to do next. You can stay, you can leave, you can adjust, you can go back, you can choose again. And that gives you so much more freedom than trying to predict the perfect choice before you ever open the door. So if everything else I've said today disappears from your brain by tomorrow morning, which is honestly fair, I hope you remember this. You don't need to know what you need. You just need to stay curious enough to discover it. When you reach the edge of what you already know, Don't automatically assume you have reached the edge of what's possible. Maybe you have simply reached the place where you need some new information. So open a door, have a look. You can always close it again. And if this episode made you look at something in your own life a little differently, send it to someone you care about. Especially if that person keeps saying, I don't know what I want, I just feel stuck, something is missing, but I don't know what. Don't send it because you think you know what's wrong with their life. Please don't make me part of an unsolicited intervention. Send it because maybe this conversation's gift them one question they haven't asked themselves yet, one perspective they haven't considered, one door they didn't know was there. Because sometimes we don't need another person to give us the answer. Sometimes another person simply shows us somewhere new to look. And I think that's a pretty beautiful thing to pass on. Love, thank you for hanging out with me on Molly's Playground. If this episode spoke to you, share it on your social media and come say hi over at Instagram on Molly Pretzel. And who knows, maybe one day we'll take up space together in real life too. Until then, take your space, trust your voice, and keep playing. See you on the playground next week.